Hey guys, it's Captain Forrest here, and in today's video, I'll be going over who I think wins more often than not in a cross-verse situation. Rebirth Wonder Woman versus Rogue from Marvelcomics 616. Now, Death Battle, they've made their interpretation many years ago, so I figured I'd give my interpretation and explain into more detail as to who I think wins more often than not in this situation. So before I get started, please leave a like, comment down below if you guys like my content, please subscribe. Also, shouts to the Coffee Shop Gang, please support the Coffee Shop Gang, they all make awesome content, their links will be in the description. Also, shouts to HQ Squad, shouts to Korin, massive help in this video for helping me with some of the scaling, and also shouts to everyone else who contributes too. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and start off with Wonder Woman. Then after that, I'm going to talk about Rogue, and then I'm just going to chop it up, give my thoughts, give my interpretation on who I think wins more often than not. So in terms of AP, Wonder Woman should range around Universal Plus, Low Multiversal to Multiversal Plus. Physically, Wonder Woman has scrapped and damaged Superman. Superman himself has demonstrated some impressive feats, such as post and pre-crisis Superman, where they scrapped with each other and their fight literally affected the full-on 11th dimensional structure in the context. This would pretty much equate to high complex multiversal plus, and depending on the context, if you take away the like the statements and you don't show just more supporting evidence, then literally like the feat alone, just face value, would only equate to low multiversal, but it's very evident and safe to say that that feat is easily high complex multiversal plus. Wonder Woman has also demonstrated to physically hurt Black Adam. He himself has physically went at it with Superman, and in fact held his own just fine against a pissed off Superman with no lightning, which makes the feat even more impressive. Black Adam also demonstrated that he was able to scrap with Simar, completely demolished him in their fight. Simar himself was literally giving the Justice League and Superman trouble in their fight. We've also seen Wonder Woman bust down Green Lantern constructs, which are 4D in nature. So these feats that Wonder Woman performs gives her these ranges of AP. So Wonder Woman's would easily scale around like Uni Plus to low multi to the multiversal plus to high complex multiversal plus ranges. So it depends on where you want to take it from there. So in terms of like her Lasso of Truth, so easily Wonder Woman's Lasso of Truth is easily high outerversal to boundless. It's been stated and also shown that the Lasso of Truth is strong enough to bind and subdue the likes of Phantom Stranger, who is vastly above Wonder Woman in physical AP. Even the Phantom Stranger even admits that the Lasso of Truth is just way too strong for him, way too built different. We've also seen for the Phantom Stranger that not even the anti-monitors are able to gauge his own power, and we all know how strong the anti-monitors are. They're pretty powerful. When the Batman Who Laughs was also amped, it stated there was only one person at the time who could have faced him, which was Wonder Woman when she fused herself with her Lasso of Truth. Wonder Woman demonstrates the amazing strength of her lasso, as it's strong enough to hold down the Darkest Night. This is impressive because this same amped Batman Who Laughs is above the likes of Barbatos, and Barbatos was able to kill the World Forger, who resides in the 6th dimension. The Darkest Night has also embarrassed Perpetua, who resides in the 6th dimension, which is essentially the control room of creation. Perpetua is able to hold creation in her hands like a ball. So depending on where you scale DC's cosmology, the Lasso of Truth would simply range from high outerversal to boundless. So again, please check out my other videos. I go into detail about the DC cosmology, so it pretty much just depends on where your interpretation is and how high you have the verse. So that's going to conclude AP for Rebirth Wonder Woman. I'm going to cover her speed now. Now depending what tiering system you use, pretty much Versus Battle Wiki are planning to remove irrelevant speed, but regardless there is character stats and profiles. So I mention this as a disclaimer just to let you guys know it does depend on which tiering system you use now. So pretty much Wonder Woman would have high immeasurable speed to irrelevant speed. She should scale to characters. Superman, as Superman has demonstrated his own immeasurable to irrelevant speed feats. He's demonstrated that he's able to keep pace with Jay Garrick and Wally West while they were chasing the Reverse Flash to the past. Wally West legit ran to the 853rd century. We've seen Superman outpace reality blitzing missiles that were sterilizing the continuum, as Superman can move inside the source where there is no direction. So this is pretty impressive. Wonder Woman should easily scale to all this. She's demonstrated to consistently keep pace with Superman and also Flash himself. So right there and there, you have some really good speed scaling. So moving on to Wonder Woman's gear. So she carries many items into battle, such as her Lasso of Truth, which is an indestructible item that Wonder Woman has in her possession, which was created by the Greek god Hephaestus. The lasso contains many abilities, such as making the person reveal hidden truths, so it has some truth manipulation. Wonder Woman uses the Lasso of Truth in order to manipulate and also make her opponents admit and reveal secrets that she can pretty much exploit and use to her advantage. The Lasso of Truth's ability activates the moment it makes physical contact with someone. The Lasso of Truth also protects Wonder Woman and other allies from mind control, and can also break her out of it if she is to become ensnared by such a hack. The lasso also has infinite strength and length, and Wonder Woman can use her lasso to rip and tear through her opponents. She can also bind and restrain her foes or choke them out. Wonder Woman also comes equipped with her bracelets of submission, which allows her to intercept or reflect projectiles. Wonder Woman can shoot out a concussive blast from her bracelets too. Wonder Woman carries her tiara and can throw her tiara at her opponents like a projectile. It's been demonstrated that it's able to slice through Superman's throat. It's that sharp. Wonder Woman also carries her sword, which she can reflect back projectiles at her foes, and she can also slice things on an atomic level. And she also carries her shield into battle for defense. Now I'm gonna go ahead and move on to Wonder Woman's skill. Wonder Woman is a very skilled combatant. Wonder Woman was able to best Ares, who knows all martial arts since the beginning of time, and she teaches him how to use the Lasso of Truth skillfully to prove the skill gap. Batman notes that Wonder Woman is the best melee fighter in the world. This is impressive because Batman himself, he is a decorated martial arts fighter in his own right, master of all forms of martial arts. He knows many forms of martial arts too, so this is actually very impressive and credible as well. So that's going to round up Wonder Woman. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the outlaw herself, Rogue. So Wonder Man allowed Rogue to absorb himself and all his powers into her, giving her access to his powers permanently. I will go over Wonder Man and his feats and showings and abilities which Rogue would now have. So it was noted by Captain America that Wonder Man has the strength of Sentry. This is more so referring to the Sentry back in the World War Hulk event. In fact, this is backed up in the Mighty Avengers issue 6, where we see Wonder Man take a punch from a pissed off Sentry and got up. It was noted by the Challenger that Wonder Man was one of the strongest Avengers out of Dr. Voodoo, Wasp, and other members of his team that were present when Wonder Man approached him to talk. In my Green Skull Hulk vs Unstoppable Colossus video, I go more into detail and give more detail behind the scaling for Green Skull Hulk and his fight with Sentry, and I also go in depth with Sentry 2 and mention his scaling. And I also made a Sentry vs Superboy video. I also include a lot of scaling and AP in that video for Sentry. So please, if you guys would like to get more context behind this scaling, I highly recommend you watch those videos. But long story short, this scaling here would place Wonder Man in the high hyperversal plus ranges to outerversal ranges of attack power, and this would also mean that Rogue would scale to this since she has all his powers, and this would also go for her absorption powers too, as it was able to absorb Wonder Man in her in the first place just fine. That's going to round up AP for Rogue. As for speed, Rogue should easily have infinite to immeasurable speed. Wonder Man can keep up with Thor in combat. Thor hears a prayer from a universe away. After hearing the prayer, Thor showcases that he's fast enough to cross the universe within a couple minutes. The universes in Marvel are infinitely large, which would mean Thor traveled an infinite distance in a finite amount of time, which is very impressive. As mentioned in other videos, Thor himself can time travel with his raw speed alone, and his Blitz Silver Surfer, who himself can time travel also. You can argue higher scaling for Rogue. You can also get her to irrelevant, but I don't think that's very consistent, so I tend to stick to these levels of speed. So now that's out of the way, let's talk about Rogue and talk about some more of her unique powers and mutant abilities. So when Rogue physically touches a person via skin contact, her mutant powers instantly activate and absorb their opponent's life force. She doesn't just drain the physical life out of her enemies, this affects them on a physical, spiritual and mental level, as she absorbs their thoughts, memories, skills, genetic or however may the person's powers were granted to them, traits, personalities, and a piece of their soul, as well as it leaves a small little residue inside of her brain. Her touch can also kill you if she takes too much. Now, depending on how much she takes and when she first takes their power, she can use it for only a limited amount of time, but the more she absorbs, or if she takes everything, the powers will either last longer or she will have them permanently. Rogue over the years has shown to somewhat counteract the flaw of only having a person's powers for a limited amount of time. She can actually manifest a persona and use that store power again. She can even tap into multiple of these personas like a chimera and use multiple powers at once. But sometimes there can be drawbacks, and if her mind becomes overwhelmed and unstable, her powers can activate and switch at random. She's also demonstrated to use her absorption powers to kiss or touch the information out of her opponent in order to gain the advantage in situations too. Now, Rogue has absorbed a lot of powers over the years. This video would probably take me about an hour just by going over all of the powers she's absorbed and what she's demonstrated with them. So to keep things short, she's pretty much absorbed a lot of, if not maybe all of them, but probably not all of them, but I'd say at least 80% in my opinion, and from what I've seen of the X-Men and the other like superhero characters like Hulk, She-Hulk's powers, Captain Marvel, Apocalypse, Wolverine, Cyclops, Phoenix Force, some powerful telepaths like Jean, Psylocke, Charles Xavier. She's also absorbed Captain America. She would also have his powers and skills. She's also absorbed like Magneto's powers too, Sabretooth. She's absorbed a lot of psyches over the years. So she's able to manifest all these unique abilities, so she's very versatile in that department. So depending on the situation, she can definitely utilize these powers and abilities. Rogue actually has some really good combat skills and prowess. She's been taught how to fight by some of the best. This would naturally include the likes of Wolverine. He himself is a master at all forms of martial arts. She would naturally have Captain America's skill too, as she was able to absorb his memories and skills, and Captain America is also a master at all forms of martial arts. I also go really in depth with both of these awesome combatants. Some of the videos I've made throughout the years, I will leave links in the description. Please check those out. Rogue is actually pretty good in hand-to-hand combat. She does use her prowess. She uses a lot of senses. She will use her awareness in fights too. So that's going to round up Rogue. I'm going to go ahead and talk about who I think wins more often than not in this fight. Now, a lot of mixed opinions and feelings about this matchup. People tend to downplay Rogue. They think Rogue's pretty garbage, which I heavily disagree. It just depends on which Rogue we're using. So if she pretty much has Wonder Man or Captain Marvel's powers, or just a hybrid of other powers in her, she's actually very powerful. So in terms of physical AP, I do think Rogue has the physical edge over Wonder Woman. I think she'd definitely be able to physically hurt Wonder Woman, incapacitate her, kill her. Her absorption powers are also potent enough to definitely affect Wonder Woman. So I think if she goes in and touches Wonder Woman, I think that's GG. I think Wonder Woman would get drained. Rogue would have all her memories, her skills, and whatever unique traits that the Amazoness has up her sleeve. Now going on to speed, I think Wonder Woman has the speed edge over Rogue. She has very consistent high immeasurable to irrelevant speed scaling, so I think that she's just way too quick. I think she'd probably blitz Rogue if it came down to speed. Now yes, Rogue does have some good speed up her sleeve too. I could even argue some of her relevant speed feats, but I don't think they're very consistent enough to get her to those levels. I think at best she'd be like immeasurable speed. Wonder Woman just has better layers of immeasurable speed, even if it was to do like an immeasurable speed cap for their speed. I just think Wonder Woman is too fast. It depends on how we break the fight down. So if we're talking like, if it's like a hand-to-hand combat, and it depends if Rogue switches like basically switches the personas, like if she puts on like Captain America or Wolverine, that could help. She could utilize their skills in the fight. But in terms of skill, I do lean a little bit more with Wonder Woman. I think she's still a little bit more skilled than Rogue, so I think she'd be able to beat Rogue in the skill department. However, I don't think she has the physical means to hurt Rogue. Wonder Woman will not be aware of Rogue's absorption powers, so if Wonder Woman was to take this approach to physically punch Rogue, that'd be very counterintuitive. In fact, that would probably one-shot Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman would pretty much one-shot herself if she tried to physically touch or punch Rogue and touch her skin. So that'd be a huge issue. How I see the fight going on more often than not in character, I think Wonder Woman with her Lasso of Truth would probably seal the deal. I really don't see what Rogue can do against the Lasso of Truth. Now yes, Rogue has a billion like souls and minds in her body. She has really good mind resistance, but nothing compared to what the Lasso of Truth is capable of. That thing is literally high altiversal. It's like conceptually beyond. It's like a higher tier than what Rogue can even handle. So I think if the Lasso of Truth tags Rogue, I think that's a GG. Now if she does get slashed up, for example, if she just slices her up, depends on where she slices, of course, Rogue could utilize some of her other personas. For example, she could tap into Wolverine, probably regen, but I don't really see that happening more often than not, especially if Wonder Woman uses Lasso of Truth. If Lasso of Truth tags Rogue, that's a problem. Wonder Woman's going to get free information. She's going to know what Rogue is capable of. She's going to know what her mutant powers are, and she'll know how to dispatch of her, so in a way so that Rogue cannot do anything. So overall, depending on your interpretation, but what I would personally go more often than not, I think Wonder Woman takes victory a little bit more in this fight. It's very close, but I personally have to lean with Wonder Woman. She has the speed edge. She'd blitz Rogue. She'd use the Lasso of Truth, and Lasso of Truth would pretty much one-shot Rogue, no difficulty. But if you go with the other scenario, if it came down to skill, which I think Wonder Woman would have the skill edge, it's just the physical touch. The most dangerous win con I think would benefit Rogue is a skin-on-skin contact, and Wonder Woman, as I mentioned in character and also stand about assumptions, there's no knowledge. Like, no characters have foreknowledge on each other. So if Wonder Woman does strike Rogue in the face and touch her physically, that's going to be a problem, and I think Rogue would take victory that way. But from my interpretation, for what I've seen what Wonder Woman's like in character, I've read some comics, I've seen what she's like in character. She loves to use the Lasso of Truth like it's a newborn baby. I think Wonder Woman takes victory in my eyes. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. I'll see you guys in the next one, and yeah, it's been real.